Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you like the content, hit the subscribe button. Leave a like down below. So I've been playing AEW Fight Forever for the last, 4 or 5 days, however long it's been. And I feel like I might be done with the game. I want to list 5 things I love about the game and 5 things I hate. After playing wrestling games for 20 plus years, let's just get into this. Let's get this over with. 5 things I love about AEW Fight Forever. Number 1, they're in random order. The lockup mechanics. The lockup mechanics that allow you to push your opponents to the ropes or turnbuckle. It allows you to position your opponents exactly where you want them for your finishers and signatures, so you don't get those pesky rope breaks like in 2K series. So for instance, you can grab your opponent and it puts you in the lockup state. And when you're in that state, you can either push them to the ropes, you can push them to the turnbuckle, or you can position them in the ring where you want them to give them either your submission or your finishing move. And some of the finishing moves will allow you to pin them right away. So that way you can really set it up to pin them immediately after the attempt, or submit them without any worry of hitting the ropes. And this mechanic alone really helps this game. And if 2K takes anything from this game, I hope it's this, because this mechanic should be the gold standard going forward for all wrestling games. All of them. Because it's so fun to just be in that lockup state and be able to push them to the ropes, push them to the turnbuckle, pull them backwards. Just, it just adds another layer of depth to a wrestling game that I didn't even thought about. So I really like that mechanic. Number 2, intergender matches. Much like a fighting game, men being able to fight the women makes the roster feel more complete and fun, and it adds a lot more options to gameplay. When you separate the men and the women in a video game, it basically breaks the game in half. You have the men, and in most wrestling games, and I think games in general, fighting games, they always have more men than women. So if you only have, I think AEW only has 12, maybe less than 12 women in the game. Can you imagine if they locked out the women's roster to just fight the women? That's a pretty limited pool set, and it kind of hampers the freedom that you would have otherwise. So let's say in Street Fighter, for example, Chun-Li and Kami, and I think they're the only two. Oh no, I forget the other gal's name, but she's the giant one. Imagine if they can only fight each other, and you couldn't fight the men. That would limit their pool of people to fight, and that kind of ruins the game if you want to play as those characters. Why even have them in the game at that point? So my point is, I know wrestling games have 100 characters, and you have the character creator, but breaking the roster in half like that, or sometimes 80-20, really just hampers the freedom of the game. I'll just put it that way. Number 3, short interactive entrances. Being able to directly control the pyro visual effects during your entrance is way more fun than I thought it would be. In the 2K series, and they've been doing this since way before 2K ever had it, where the entrances are just, you go to the ring, it does this exact animation that they program it for, and that's it. You can't interact with it, you can't do anything with it. The thing that AEW does, kind of like, what is it? Wrestling Empire. I love Wrestling Empire. If you haven't played it, go check it out on Steam and the Switch. In Wrestling Empire, you have full control of your character during your entrance. You can climb up on the barricade, you can trip over things, you can go on the announce desk, you can throw weapons in the ring, you can hold up your championship belt, you can do all sorts of stuff. In AEW, you can control the visual effects and your pyro, and you can just keep setting off the pyro. It allows you to set 4 pyro and 4 visual effects, so you can just cycle through them all while you're going to the ring. It's only about a 10-second entrance in AEW Fight Forever, but that's more than enough, and it just makes it really fun. It's like a little extra fun part of the thing. When I first saw these short entrances, I thought it made the game look cheap, but now that I've experienced it, I can't imagine playing the game without them because it really adds to the game and it's really fun. So I'm kind of happy they went with the short entrance route with this interactivity. Now, if they didn't have the interactivity, these entrances I would just turn them off because what's the point? They're short and they don't do anything. Anyway, I really like how they did it, and I hope other games allow some sort of interactivity with the entrances to make it more fun. Number 4, Road to Elite. Road to Elite has these really funny goofball storylines, and I like how the men and the women the storylines work universally between both sexes, and it makes it more dynamic, and you never know what's going to happen next, and it just makes it fun for multiple playthroughs. My only gripe with the mode is that it's just menu based. You can't go walk around freely, even in a locker room or whatever, or at the gym. It would have been a lot more fun if they could do that. But yeah, it is what it is. Number 5. This has got to be the best soundtrack that I've heard in a wrestling game. I want to say since the Def Jam era. Those old Def Jam games had a lot of cool licensed music on them, rap music. I'm not a big rap guy, but I like the artists that were in those games. In this game, it has so much. It has like 8-bit music, it has hip hop, it has a bunch of different genres, and there's a ton of them. There's not like 12 songs like in most wrestling games. Like, for instance, one of the wrestling games on GameCube, I can't remember which one it was. It's either one of the Day of Reckonings or one of the WrestleMania 18 or 19, or it had Breaking Benjamin, Firefly, Have You Lost Your Light, and it played that song so many times that I cannot stand Breaking Benjamin anymore at all, let alone the song. So if I even hear that guy's music, I'm like, nope, I turn it off, I can't stand it, and I used to like that band. So it doesn't matter if you like the songs or not. If you only put 12 songs in a video game where you're going to be spending hundreds of hours making characters and doing all this other stuff, you're going to get sick of it. I guarantee you. So I always turn the music off, but not this time. In AEW Fight Forever, I've left the music on, and I've even turned it up to max because it's good music, and it cycles through so many different ones, you never get sick of it, at least not yet. Now on to 5 things I hate about AEW Fight Forever. Now, if you're easily triggered, and you're going to go keyboard warrior on me, then just leave now, because some of these things will annoy you, but they have to be said. Number 1, the countering system. After playing 20 years or more of wrestling games and the 2K series, just every wrestling game in general, this tiny window countering system is very difficult to get the timing right. It's you got to give people some sort of indication on when to counter than just like when they touch you or when they punch you, because every single move in the game has a different timing, right? It's not like having a block button where you can just block attacks like in the Street Fighter game. It's kind of universal, where if you duck, you can't block high attacks. If you're standing, you can't block low attacks. Something like that. I mean, you have your counter attacks, and you have your strikes, and you have your counter grapples. Why don't both of the buttons counter finishers? Like, I want to say, what was that, the SmackDown Here Comes the Pain game that did that? It was one of the SmackDown games that first implemented that. I don't mind having 2 different counter buttons. It's much better than having 5 or 6, like in 2K. I literally think there's 5 counter buttons in that game. 2 is perfect, and then click both to counter a finisher. That's how it should be for every wrestling game. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just keep it simple, or heck, have 1 counter move. And the momentum system and your health should not affect your countering system unless you're taking a finisher or signature. Like, if you're beat to hell and you have no health left, I think, you shouldn't be able to counter a finisher, right? Unless you have a stored finisher also. Although in this game it doesn't do that because it's all based off momentum. That's how you have a finisher. And while you have maximum momentum, you can turn it from your signature into a finisher. I know it seems confusing unless you're actually playing the game and you know what I'm talking about. But Basically, all I'm saying is that you got to give us a window on when to counter, and don't make the momentum and your health affect it unless it's the finisher or signature. That's just my opinion anyway. Now, number 2 of things I hate about this game, the pin system is completely broken. Not being able to kick out after getting hit a few times is ridiculous. Button mashing does not work anymore. It's an old broken mechanic, and it's lazy, in my opinion. If you're a company making a game where you have to button mash to do something, it's not fun, and it damages the controller. Develop some sort of mechanic to make it more interactive, fun, and innovative. Like the 2K series has, they keep changing the stupid pin system. They have the thing that goes back and forth. You have to stop it in the zone. They have the double joystick where you have to go up. Well, I just do both joysticks. I think it's only one. And then they have the button mash one. Like, you can give people options that way also, or you can come up with your own thing where it's a button combination, which I think would be probably better because when in the world of online, and we'll get into that in a minute, lag is a bitch, right? Lag ruins games, especially when it has something where it has precision timing. Like, if you're playing this game online with peer-to-peer, I don't know how the hell you're countering, unless you're not lagging and they are. Anyway, we'll get into those two things in a second. They just need to fix the pin system. They need to come up with some sort of actual effort in the pin system instead of just, button mashing. They just need to fix that, in my opinion. It just seems really lazy. Number 3. Tag matches and 4-way matches. These matches are very difficult to do targeting. To target the correct person you want to hit. It's like, I've lost multiple matches because it would not look at the correct person to break up the pin attempts or stop opponents from breaking my pin attempts. So when you're in a tag match and your partner is about to be pinned and you have to jump in and try to break it up, sometimes I must be hitting the joystick or something. It would look at the other guy getting in the ring and run towards him instead of attacking the pin attempt, right? So I've lost a couple matches that way, and I've also lost matches with trying to, like in a 4-way match, you're trying to look at the person pinning, and instead of looking at them, I look at the other guy and punch the other guy, so I stop him from breaking up the pin, and I also stop myself from breaking up the pin, so I lose. I'm like, come on, hit the guy pinning! So they need to fix the targeting system as well. Online is peer-to-peer. Like I said, we're going to talk about this. This is number 4, which means I won't touch it with a 10 full. I won't touch that lag fest. No way. I put up with that in the PS2 and PS3 generation, never again. And they also lied about crossplay. I'm almost certain they said this game was going to be crossplay against all platforms. The way they're doing it now, where every platform's their own thing, is extremely extremely limited, and the pool of players, if one console's players die, the player base just dies, then that's it. I mean, there's nothing left to do. With having it cross-play, the player base would live much, much longer, but I guess they couldn't get it to work in the time they had. Now, number 5, the number one thing that drives me up a tree about this game is the custom wrestler. The custom wrestler for a game made in 2023 is absolutely unacceptable in my opinion. I mean, you don't have a mohawk. That's a major thing. That's personal gripe. But I mean, if you go through this and go watch my video, there's literally nothing. And then you go to the move set, there's a lot of moves, but they're not sorted or anything like that. They're just alphabetical, and you have to go through this unending list and try to find the moves you want. I hope you know what your move's called, because you'll be looking for quite a while. I mean, I've seen a bunch of people make their wrestlers, and they all have the same beard, and they all have the same long hair. And it's like, you really destroy. Why even create a wrestler if it's going to be this limited? I mean, the way it's designed, I don't think even adding parts is going to fix this thing, because if you look at the parts that are there, over half of them the color cannot be changed, and it's only one color. It's not like two different color spots either, and you can't apply any decals to anything, and no designs, no logos, no logo creator. What you see is what you get, and that just destroys this creator wrestler. I don't know what they were thinking when they put this in here. I've heard other people say that they weren't even intending to have a creator wrestler in here, which blows my mind. It's like, how can you release a wrestling game in 2023 without a character creator? I mean, right? And with the rumor going around that there's going to be a battle royale, I guarantee you they're going to do a battle pass, and they're going to lock out a bunch of cool parts to that battle pass, which will hurt the game even more. Like, ugh. Anyway, my closing thoughts after spending 4 days with this game: I think I've seen and done just about everything. I really hope THQ and Ukes have lost I hope they have a lot of updates, plans, a content rollout or something in the next 2 to 3 weeks, or this game is going to die faster than you can be pinned in a match. Thank you for watching. I really hope they do something with this game. It needs a lot of work. What are your thoughts? What are things that bug you? Sound off in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching. Stay frosty.